Coming to you live from the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are in the free Odyssey app, good Tuesday morning, Election Day 2024. And we got sports to talk about. Of course, you had a very entertaining Monday night game last night between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. And you got Todd Bowles on the hot seat for not going for two. You got a Patrick Mahomes injury that he battles through. This man is superhuman. And you've got a Chiefs team that does not lose. So once again, they are heavy favorites to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And even when they play these tight games, they find a way to win with Patrick Mahomes hobbled. So good luck beating them again as they continue to build on their dynasty. And we got some Yankees and some baseball offseason to talk about. What a weird end to that Garrett Cole opt-out story, is basically nothing happened, and Scott Boras kind of looks foolish for even toying with that opt-out and messing with the Yankees and Garrett Cole. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. I'm a little bit tired. I stayed up and watched this game last night, and it was a great game. You know, and in between, I'm flipping to the Knicks and everything else.
Yeah, I know.
And unfortunately, the Knicks
them.
lose to Houston. We'll get to them a little bit later. But, you know, it is amazing. And Troy Aikman said it last night. He goes, you know, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know, score a touchdown here at the end of regulation, I would go for two. So would I.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Patrick Mahomes is 8-0 in overtime. 8-0. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
He basically owns the fourth quarter in overtime, and whether he's hurt or he's not. Remember a few years ago he played with that bad ankle, that high ankle sprain that very few guys could ever play with, and he played with it and played great with it and ended up winning a Super Bowl with it. And last night it was the left ankle that he tweaked last week, and he tweaked it again last night. And the way that he went off the field, you were wondering whether or not he was going to come back, and then he did. Man, he is just unbelievable.
Look at this. So after you get from Mahomes and Bradshaw on this list of best record in OT regular season games, you get Trent Dilfer, Brock Osweiler, and Marcus Mariota, which is funny because I hadn't thought about Brock Osweiler in I don't know how long, and Al referenced Brock Osweiler this morning on the warm-up show, not for this stat, but in relation to paying guys who stink. And now Brock Osweiler makes it into the show again. I wonder who he's voting for today, Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, I don't know, but those those are regular season stats. He has two in the playoffs too, Patrick Mahomes.
Yes,
in
he
overtime.
does.
So he's an amazing football player, and you know, listening to Troy try to explain like the things that he does on the field. Listen, I thought he did a good job. I mean, for those of us who played the position and watching him play, it's just ridiculous how things come so easy to him and how he sees the field and knows what he has to get done. And then he has this very special relationship with Travis Kelce, and now he's developing a relationship with DeAndre Hopkins, which is scary too. And you know, they got the full complement now going, and if they get totally healthy, they're going to be really, really difficult to beat. The question will be, is will they go undefeated? And that's like the one thing that they haven't done yet.
Yeah,
they haven't gone undefeated.
It's sort of like the Patriots back when they were winning all those Super Bowls, and in 2007 they were doing it. I think it's much harder now to go undefeated than it even was back in 2007. Obviously, there's an extra game which makes it harder, but it's tough, and you just see the crazy nature of the NFL from week to week and some of these upsets and things that you never expect to happen. So I would never put anything past Patrick Mahomes. He is capable of anything. And yes, it's really him and the coaching and everything else. And they got Spagnuolo and Andy Reid, and we understand Matt Nagy's back there. I mean, they just have a great coaching staff and the best player in the world, but undefeated is tough.
I would say, you know, all right, so here's their schedule, just so you understand it. So Denver at home next week, and then they have to go to Buffalo. Then they're at Carolina, then they got the Raiders, and then they're at home against the Chargers. So Buffalo and the Chargers will be tough games. They're at Cleveland. They have Houston at home. They're at Pittsburgh and at Denver at the end of the season. So, there are a couple places in there where they could lose. I could see them losing.
Yeah, but they'll be favored in every one of these games.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
Why wouldn't they be favored?
No,
they have the best quarterback on the planet, and I can't say enough about just, again, like if you're a Kansas City Chief fan and you watch him every single week, you're it's like that's what you want. Yeah. That's what every team wants. They want a quarterback that kind of handles the game like this. You don't have to go out there and throw for 400 yards every game and 5 touchdowns. But when the game is on the line, you got to make plays, especially if you're injured. You know, they're trying to get DeAndre Hopkins up to speed. Next thing you know, he's got 2 touchdowns. You know, why? Because the ball hits him right in the chest.
Yep.
You know, and he just moves around back there. He'll take a sack. The only time he really gets in trouble is when I believe he gets bored. And then he tries to force the issue, and he'll throw an interception here or there. But my God, I mean, he is just so calm, cool, and collected. And, you know, he is everything that every quarterback needs to be. And it's really hard to get to where he is right now.
Yeah, the Chiefs were one of those franchises before Patrick Mahomes got there. And it's something we don't talk about or think about now that they're basically have this dynasty and we're in the midst of watching it. You know, they had a Super Bowl a long time ago, much like the Jets. It was Super Bowl IV. It was the Hank Stram, matriculate the ball down the field. They had a great fan base, great stadium, and they were okay, but they never really got over the hump. They were just a good franchise that would have a lot of heartbreaks when they did make the playoffs. They had good players that came in and out of there, Derek Thomas being one, the RIP, but stuff like so. And then all of a sudden, what changes? They get the guy, and then that's it. And then they have a dynasty. So, I mean, it's just, I know it's so impossible to get the best player in football, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, and how a lot of it is scouting, but some of it's just luck and where you end up and what other teams see. But, you know, if you're someone who is a fan of a franchise that's been dormant and you're thinking to yourself, like, man, I'm never going to be able to see championships. I mean, think about the Kansas City Chiefs. It was decades and decades that they were just a team that was looking back on that one Super Bowl. And now all of a sudden, here they are. And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are driving this thing right into NFL history.
They were close with Marty Schottenheimer, and then they had Dick Vermeil there for a while.
Yeah, but then
Herm Edwards got there.
Yeah, but they never
had Todd Haley.
A lot of heartbreak, though. You know,
it wasn't until Andy Reid came there and stabilized everything.
Yep.
And they had Alex Smith. You know, Andy had Alex Smith, and they would win. And there were games I remember towards Alex's final chapter there in Kansas City before he went to Washington. Because, Alex Smith is kind of like a guy that you'd want to have if you can't have Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Or if you can't have Josh Allen or Joe Burrow. You'd want him to be your quarterback because you could trust him. And he'll go out there, he'll get everybody set, he'll get everybody in the right formations, he'll make all the right checks at the line of scrimmage, he'll communicate to his team, but he's just not going to ignite the offense. He's not going to make the big plays or the key plays. And there were times where they were in the playoffs with Andy Reid where Alex Smith just wouldn't let it go. You know what I mean? He just wouldn't let it go. Patrick is completely different. And man, he is just an amazing football player, and he has every attribute that you want. He's got the body style, he's got the arm strength, he's got the accuracy, and he's got the wherewithal, the understanding of where he is in the game, what he needs to get done. And Troy was explaining this last night, and I was like, man, this is right on exactly how you want to describe the way that Patrick Mahomes plays.
I got a question for you, and it has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. Actually has to do with the other quarterback in this game who played well without his top 2 wide receivers. If Baker Mayfield were on the Giants, how much better would they be this year?
I think they would be a lot better, because he's so fiery. And he's exactly what Brian Daboll is looking for.
I feel like that pairing together would do some special things, like Daboll and Baker Mayfield. Not that Baker Mayfield's available. I look at Baker Mayfield because we talk so much about what's next for the Giants and finding that guy and who is it, and if you don't draft him, where are you going to find him? And Baker Mayfield's that perfect example of a guy who was bouncing around, but he works his ass off. He has a lot of energy. And he found this home in Tampa where he is playing his ass off. And like that, if the Giants can't find somebody in the draft this year, they got to find the closest version of that somewhere in free agency or a trade. Which makes it so difficult, I know, but I'm just trying to give another example of a team that found a guy that gave them energy.
I'll tell you who might be available next year. Derek Carr.
Oh, God.
Okay. Remember Rob Saleh really wanted Derek Carr?
Yeah, okay. Rob Saleh's not here anymore, and Michael Thomas called him so ass that he should get his ass beat.
His own teammate, I know,
right?
Which is really a shame. But I will just say that they went from Drew Brees to Derek Carr, and it just goes to show you how much in charge and how much of a great leader Drew Brees was when he was playing there. And even though Derek Carr is a very fine football player, he's like, reminds me of Daniel Jones. Is a really good football player. But, is he going to raise the level of play of the players around him? No. I know that DeAndre Hopkins is not DeAndre Hopkins of 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. He's still a really good player. And he's a veteran, and they had to bring somebody in because of the injuries that Kansas City has suffered at the wide receiver position. And he's still playing with Travis Kelce, who just finds ways to get open, and they run their own plays, by the way. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen players play the way that Patrick Mahomes plays with Travis Kelce. I've never seen that. So, but you see how Patrick just raises the level of everybody's play around him. So you're Kareem Hunt, you're sitting on the couch, you get a call, listen, we got all these injuries, come back here and come run for us. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Kareem Hunt is running for 100 yards a game.
Yeah, but I'll give you just on it because, getting Patrick Mahomes is like 1 in a million. But getting someone like Baker Mayfield is not. And he's a guy who raised the play everybody on the field yesterday, too, because there was no Mike Evans. There was no Chris Godwin. He went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes on the road in the rain.
Just goes to show you how stupid Cleveland is.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's the thing. And now maybe Baker wore out his welcome in Cleveland. I don't know. I mean, he was doing a lot of commercials, doing a lot of different things off the field.
That was definitely on the Browns more than anything else. He wasn't doing. I mean, think about they brought in wore out his welcome. Look what they brought in.
I know that, but what I'm saying to you, we don't know before Deshaun Watson got there. Yeah. We don't know all the things that were going on internally. I don't. I have no idea, and I can't understand for the life of me watching Baker not only play now at Tampa, but also doing what he did with the Rams in those 3 games that he ended up playing for the Rams. I think it was 3 games. And, and he was battling it out with Sam Darnold to become the quarterback of the Panthers. And just whatever. So he's had quite the journey, and he's finally figured out how to play the game, and he found the right team for himself. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Are the Giants going to go after a guy like Anthony Richardson if he becomes available?
If they're not able to draft their guy in the draft, it was really the question. So we have to preface it with that. And I don't know. I mean, I would say probably not, just from the stuff we've seen from him already. But then again, Brian Daboll might sit and look at Anthony Richardson and say, man, I could be the guy who could fix him. I mean, I know these names aren't exciting, but I mean, Sam Darnold is probably going to be available at the end of this year. After, in the year that he's putting together, I'm sure that unless he goes and wins a Super Bowl or takes the Vikings to the Super Bowl, which is unlikely, they're going to go with a healthy J.J. McCarthy next year, and Sam Darnold will probably earn an opportunity to start elsewhere. That's a guy who could be out there.
Yeah, but another guy that, I don't see him coming back to New York unless it's the only team
that's going to give him a chance
to start. I just don't see him coming back here. I mean, it's pretty nice playing indoors pretty much, half your games, if not more, because you're playing in Detroit. You're obviously playing, anywhere else that there may be a dome, but that there's something to be said about that.
Oh, yeah, and with an offensive coach and one of the best wide receivers in football, too, on top of that.
But who has that to offer next year?
Not a lot of teams.
Well, no. We don't even know.
The Giants have an offensive coach and a great we hope is a great wide receiver in Malik Nabers. I mean, they do
stop dropping the passes. That's all.
Yeah, right. And then saying crazy stuff after the game about not being able to call the plays and implying that the play calling is bad. I mean, yeah.
I told you yesterday that goes over like a lead balloon.
Yeah,
when rookies start, pontificating about offensive play calling, like this guy has just got here. And he's already missed games because of a concussion, and he's already dropped the most passes in the league. And now all of a sudden he's out there giving his point of view about, what we should be doing, what I'm not doing. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's, we going OBJ2 now all of a sudden?
Yeah. I mean, think about that whole thing when he went on ESPN and sat next to Lil Wayne and basically trashed Eli Manning on national TV. I mean, that was one of the most bizarre scenes ever. And that's what got him traded was I think that was the last straw. It was like, all right, enough. I don't know how you do that, especially the way that Eli was beloved over there, and rightfully so. That was not going to fly. So hopefully this is a teaching moment, a learning experience for him, and this is the worst it gets for Malik Nabers. I don't know what to say. He's rookie, he's young. shouldn't have said that. Maybe this is the last time we're talking about him saying that type of stuff. But he's frustrated, man. I mean, the offense stinks. They don't score touchdowns. They can't win at home. He's coming from a winning environment. He's got Huckleberry Finn as his quarterback. He's watching Jaden Daniels in Washington in the same division, go 7-2. It's just pissing him off. Now he's got to act like an adult and deal with it like a professional. But he's frustrated.
I understand he's frustrated, but he also has to recognize where he is, who he is. And that's usually the hardest thing for younger players to deal with. It's just put your head down and play. Just play the game and do what they tell you. And then, if you become an all-pro and you make these spectacular plays, then we'll give you a little bit more freedom to open your mouth.
Yeah.
But, rookies should be seen and not heard. Yep. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. I mean, I tried to put my head down when I was a rookie. Didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, of course.
And because I didn't know anything.
I mean, unless you're the quarterback and you got to earn the respect of your teammates, right? I mean, then you got to be a leader.
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, they are experiencing for the first time things that they have never experienced before in their lives. And the one thing I love about Jaden Daniels is how humble he is about it. I know we're 7-2 and we're good, and I'm getting all these accolades. It's not about me, man. It's about our team and how we're playing and how I'm being prepared. And I mean, that's what you want to hear from a rookie. Now, it's easy to say that because he's winning. If the record were reversed and he had thrown 10 interceptions already, that may be different. But he is the prime example of how you handle the success in the league when you're this young and it comes this fast. I think C.J. Stroud did that last year. That's what you want. You want that kind of player to be your leader, the ultimate mouthpiece for your team, because he knows that there are things that are happening around him that he's reacting to that he has never seen before. And he's made plays because of how good of an athlete he is. And he's now starting to process defenses, and he's getting rid of the ball quickly. That is something that you would have never expected. I would think all three young quarterbacks are going through a little bit of that right now. And all three young quarterbacks look like they're going to have long, distinguished careers by virtue of how they're handling things that they had never seen before.
All right, just getting started on this Tuesday morning. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Jerry joins us in a little bit. He'll have the Monday Night Football recap, the Knicks and the Rockets, and more. The NBA is back.